That's an interesting. Okay, I think we can go to to our next question, really related to this one. Why doesn't God then just exist? Why do you think?
Much simpler, right?
I know it's makes sense.
It would, every time I think it would make you think about that question, then you think it makes it simpler, but I think it would devalue our faith. And I'll expand why, but I just want to say that. And first, like we were saying, I think it would be fair to say that he actually does prove his existence. There's enough, factual and philosophical support for existence of God. That's overwhelming. That actually takes less faith to believe than it takes to believe evolution. In Matthew 11:25, it says, "At that time Jesus prayed the prayer, 'O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, thank you for hiding these things from those who think themselves wise and clever, and for revealing them to the childlike.'" One of the qualities of a child is that they believe, right? They believe. You can tell their faith. They believe that they can jump over a cliff that nobody else can jump over. They believe that their dad is the strongest. They believe that they can eat a whole cow, whatever, right? They believe things, and that's why Jesus showed it. That's why he mentioned it. But remember when it says in the Bible that the road and the gate is narrow? It's enter salvation with our credentials going before us, our crowns on our heads. We will have to humble ourselves. And that's the reason, the reason that faith is required. It's kind of it's supported in Hebrews 11:6, where it says that you cannot please God without faith. You cannot come to him without faith. If you don't believe that he exists, you cannot come to him. And another part of this, of the answer that I want to kind of highlight is that evidence would force us to believe. Evidence would force us to believe because you could observe it, right? You could clearly observe it, and I would say that you can't clearly observe it. Then, you would be. I would say, it's a fact that would be proven to you, and the question then would be, can you be forced into faith? Can you be forced to love? Can you be forced to worship? And the answer is no, you can't be. You can't force yourself to love somebody you don't love. That's really important because God wants us to believe. He wants us to love because he gave us free will. He gave us choice. Kind of to wrap this up, I want to give a few points that show kind of how our mind thinks by default. And that's in Romans 1:19-20. It talks about how in this world, in the nature, in everything we see around us, it's evidence that God exists. It shows to us that God exists. Another thing, if you read through Revelation, and they hardened themselves, they hardened themselves against God. They still did not believe, and it just shows that even if God would create some miracle just for you, prove himself to you, you might not believe if you choose not to. One person, I can't remember who said that, but it's one of the it was one of the Christian philosophers debating an atheist. He said atheists often say that Christians invented God, but it doesn't make sense, because if you would be to invent God, you would invent a different kind of God. You wouldn't invent a holy God, righteous God, God that's just. You wouldn't invent that type of God. You would invent a God that makes sense to you, that's easy to please, that gives you the permission to do anything you want, and still you go to the best place in eternity. So
People to believe because he doesn't want to force himself on people, right? He wants us to choose because he gave us a free will. That's an interesting choice an interesting point. It just reminded me of that verse in the Bible where it says that blessed is he who believes, but how to say, blessed is he who does not see but believe.
yes, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, believes without seeing.
So yeah, faith is not seeing the evidence. It's seeing what is not there, but that's faith, is believing in God even though you don't actually see him. That's a very interesting point, and it wouldn't make sense if God would reveal himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, that totally defeats the purpose of it. Think about this, then you, like, one of the ways to see, kind of get your confirmation for your salvation is, like, do you love being with God? Do you love reading his word? Do you love learning his laws and his commandments to us, and just worshiping him, just being with him? That's exactly what he's looking for. He's not looking for somebody who's a beneficiary of who he is. He's looking somebody who
God is looking for you to not just follow him with fear, because if he made a throne and, we could go and visit him and we heard about all his, the way we should live life, we would do it because we would fear him, that he would punish us, and that's it. But because he keeps himself invisible to our eye, but very knowable, he's asking us to follow him with love, and that is to want him and not just, just have him to be saved and that's it. It's to want him. Heaven is unity with God forever. And if you don't want that, then sorry, you're in the wrong you're in the wrong club.
I want to add one little detail to what you said. It's if you would see God, like, if you get the empirical evidence for God, right? You could go and see him, and you'd get scared and you get that fear. Most people, the natural reaction would be to believe because it makes sense. It's just self-preservation, right? Reaction, and that in itself would be selfish, and that in itself is sin. So you're right there, you're sinning, kind of believing but sinning. It's just the wrong state of heart that you're in. So it's really interesting, like, detail that I was just thinking about when you were talking about it.
I was watching a debate between an atheist and a Christian. I can't recall who it was, but it was a prominent atheist that said, I would believe it if God just wrote my name in the sky right now, like, John, this is God. But it's just so funny. I mean, we have so much more as evidence. Every person has a software code that is billions of letters long. I think they said that if you take all the libraries in the world, I think they don't fit the DNA code in all of them, if I'm not mistaken. Bill Gates himself said that it is the most sophisticated piece of software that's ever been written. There is no software that I could just say, maybe I'm ignorant, but there is no software that has been written, or any code for a computer that has been written without a person behind the other side that's writing it. This Remel here, he does this for a living. These codes don't appear. You got to have a mind that could sit down and write these things out, and then it's written out. They don't appear. So let's just say that God wrote his name in the sky. What if this happens for everyone? How many, you got billions of people on earth, and then what? Everybody's just going to look up in the sky. Oh, yeah, what's that? Oh, that's just God. Who does he think he is? We always will need another reason to believe in God. Look around you. There is plenty of evidence. I love the love without coercion. It's like in a family. I'm married. I have a wife. She put her trust in me, and she loves me. I don't coerce her. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's. I don't do anything to make her love me. My children the same way. I come home, they're running to me saying, "Papa," they come give me kisses. I don't make them do that. Well, the little one, I have to chase her around, but she likes that. That's a different case. But she loves me. It's just a game we play. Nobody is coerced. Love has to be given out freely. It could never be coerced. If somebody is coerced into love, it is no longer love. There's other words for that.
That's a really good point. And it's like there's that famous quote that God put a God-shaped hole in every person's heart. It's like there's something that instinctively we feel that we need God, right? That there's something that pulls us towards him. And how many people throughout history have this desire, this urge inside of their heart, something calling out inside of them that tells them that there's God and you need to find peace with him. That is, it's such a mystery, but it's amazing how God reveals himself to every single person like that. That's awesome.
Somebody said, I heard a joke recently. Somebody said, there are no unbelievers on a falling plane, right?
Yeah. So true. Everybody's praying.